On a warm late summer morning in the small American town of Maple Glen, the air held that familiar mix of sunshine, lawn sprinkler haze, and the distant smell of someone making bacon at a neighboring house. Streets curved gently between rows of cozy single-story homes, many built in the 1980s with the distinctly American combination of beige siding, green lawns, and mailboxes shaped like tiny barns. The kind of town where everyone waved at everyone else because, well, they knew they'd eventually end up in line behind him at the grocery store anyway. Near the corner of Pine Ridge Avenue, Ethan Miller, 26 years old, slightly scatterbrained, and forever running 5 minutes behind schedule, swung his front door open with the urgency of someone who had sworn, again, that today would be the day he finally got to the bus stop on time. He wore slightly wrinkled khakis, a navy blue polo shirt, and sneakers that somehow always came untied no matter how double-knotted they started. His curly brown hair looked like it had negotiated with gravity and lost. Again, Maple Glen's Route 17 bus, the only bus, really, did not wait for latecomers. Everyone in town knew it. The driver, Barbara Collins, had been piloting that bus for 22 years with the precision of a NASA engineer. She had a reputation. If your foot wasn't on the curb by 8:05 a.m., the bus didn't even think about slowing down. You could be mid-sprint, arms waving, backpack flapping like a wounded bird behind you, didn't matter. Barbara would maintain eye contact, raise one eyebrow, and keep that bus rolling, which is why Ethan's morning ritual had become something of a local spectator event. Today, though, things had seemed promising. Ethan had woken up with 5 whole minutes to spare, a personal best. He'd even brewed coffee without spilling any and toasted 2 slices of bread that had, miraculously, not burned. He had grabbed his backpack, patted his pockets to confirm he had his phone and wallet, another rarity, and stepped out the door feeling almost proud. But of course, the moment Ethan took 3 confident strides down his driveway, he realized he'd left his lunch on the kitchen counter. He froze, staring at his house like it had personally betrayed him. The bus came at 8:05. His watch said 8:01. The walk to the bus stop was 4 minutes at best. 5 if he obeyed normal human laws like not running across Mrs. Davenport's lawn. Ethan groaned, weighing 2 options. 1. Go back inside and risk missing the bus. 2. Skip lunch and spend $12 on a sandwich at the office cafeteria that tasted like someone whispered flavor near it and hoped for the best. He dashed back inside, grabbed the lunch bag containing leftovers from last night's homemade chili, too good to abandon, ran out again, and nearly tripped over his own shoes as he sprinted toward the street. That was when the universe decided to add spice. Halfway down the block, Ethan saw the bus. Already approaching. Already too close. Already not slowing down. Oh come on, he shouted, breaking into full-on Olympic mode, backpack bouncing violently enough to probably bruise his kidneys later. He darted past Mr. Alvarez, who was watering hydrangeas in his front yard. The retired science teacher raised a casual wave. Morning, Ethan. Running late again? Ethan didn't slow down. Always. A small dog barked from a front porch. A passing jogger, Tiffany Brooks, local kindergarten teacher and devout sunrise runner, tossed Ethan a sympathetic grin as she glided effortlessly past him. He reached the corner just in time to see Barbara's bus whish by like a majestic, indifferent metal whale. Barbara, Ethan yelled, waving both arms. Barbara, queen of punctuality, did not even pretend to stop. She pointed at the giant digital clock on her dashboard, then flicked on her turn signal as if to say, try again tomorrow, kid. Ethan skidded to an exhausted halt on the curb, hands on his knees, breathing like he had just outrun a mountain lion. Okay, he panted. It's not over. I still have the shortcut. The shortcut was not a real shortcut. It was, in fact, the stuff of local legend. Behind Maple Glen, there was a patchy, slightly overgrown trail that cut through the community park, circled around the duck pond, crossed behind the baseball field, and came out near the bus route's next stop. Most people avoided it because the path was uneven. Squirrels were aggressive. Once a teenager swore he saw a raccoon doing something that raccoons definitely should not do. But Ethan had used it before. Once. In desperation. And he'd survived with only minor embarrassment. He tightened the straps of his backpack. I can do this. This is my heroic moment. He took 1 step toward the trail, then immediately slipped on the morning's wet grass, fell backward, and wedged his left sneaker directly into a sprinkler head. The sprinkler erupted like a geyser. A full burst of cold water blasted him straight in the face. Auugh. He yanked his soaked foot free, stumbled upright, and glared at the sprinkler like it had personally insulted his family. Water dripped from his hair, shirt, and even his lunch bag. He checked inside. The chili container had survived. A small victory. Ethan shook himself off like a wet Labrador, then ran limped into the shortcut. The trail looked like something out of a budget nature documentary. Uneven dirt, patches of wild grass, random tree roots styled like tripping hazards, and the occasional squirrel that looked like it did CrossFit. Birds chirped above, but not the whimsical Disney kind. More like the judgmental kind that said, "Look at this guy. Can't even catch the bus." Ethan pushed through branches that slapped him in the face. Spiderwebs clung to his hair. His sneakers squelched with every step. He navigated around a muddy dip, only to step into another one he didn't see. He sighed. Of course. Halfway through, he spotted Mrs. Davenport, the 72-year-old who was known around town for wearing bold floral dresses and walking her giant orange cat, Marshmallow, like it was a perfectly normal thing to do. Mrs. Davenport raised her hand cheerfully. "Morning, Ethan." "Hi, pant, Mrs. Davenport." "Fancy, gasp, seeing you here. Oh, I love taking Marshmallow out before the heat gets bad. He needs fresh air. Otherwise he sits on my printer and prints blank pages to get my attention." Marshmallow stared at Ethan with the judgmental intensity of a DMV employee. "Good boy," Ethan muttered nervously. Mrs. Davenport patted him on the shoulder. "You look like you're in a hurry." "Ha, yeah, you could say that." Before he finished, Marshmallow decided to wrap his leash around Ethan's legs like a lasso. Ethan toppled sideways into a bush, coming out with leaves in his shirt and a twig behind his ear like a confused woodland fairy. Mrs. Davenport gasped. "Oh, are you all right, dear?" "I'm great, just getting my daily vegetation intake." He untangled himself, waved goodbye, and powered ahead. Beyond the trees, the trail dipped toward the community ball field. Little kids were already gathering there for morning practice, some chewing bubblegum the size of golf balls, others dragging baseball bats twice their height. Their coach, Rick Donovan, tall, loud, and always wearing a visor, spotted Ethan and shouted, "Move it, Ethan. Hustle, run like you're stealing second." Ethan attempted a dramatic sprint. His backpack bounced so violently the strap slapped him in the face. Coach Rick blew his whistle supportively. "Yes, love the energy." Ethan stumbled across the field, hopped over a stray baseball, zigzagged between a group of 7-year-olds doing jumping jacks, and emerged, panting, sweating, disheveled, on the far side where the trail connected back to the street. He checked the time, 8:09. If the bus had been on schedule, it would reach the next stop at 8:11. He had a chance. Fueled by cosmic determination and mild panic, Ethan launched into a desperate sprint down Oakwood Lane. But Oakwood Lane was uphill. A steep uphill. The kind of uphill that made your thighs question all your life choices. Halfway up, Ethan slowed to a dramatic stagger. Who builds streets like this? At the top of the hill, he spotted Nora Pierce, his neighbor and occasional partner in complaining about trash collection days. She was unloading groceries from her car at 8 a.m., because Nora was one of those people who somehow finished errands before most people finished brewing their coffee. She saw Ethan struggling like he was climbing Mount Everest. "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Bus, wheeze, must, catch, bus." Nora immediately sprang into action. "Need a ride?" "Yes, but also, no, because if I stop, I'll die." Nora blinked. "Okay, good luck." Ethan powered over the top of the hill, and there it was. The bus. Turning the corner toward the next stop. A glorious, sparkling, diesel-scented beacon of hope. "Barbara," Ethan shouted again, breaking into the fastest sprint his legs had ever delivered. His body was essentially protesting in 13 languages, but adrenaline had taken the wheel. He reached the bus stop just as the bus slowed. Waiting there was a small crowd of morning commuters. Jenny Marshall, early 30s librarian, sipping iced coffee. Dr. Kevin Hartley, the town chiropractor who tried to adjust everyone's posture in conversation. Little Gracie Walters, eating an aggressively blue popsicle even though it was barely 8 a.m. Marcus Tate, retired army vet who always wore aviator sunglasses, even indoors. They all looked up as Ethan approached at breakneck speed. His shoelace came undone. His left foot snagged it. He tripped, and flew forward, arms flailing, and crashed directly into the bus stop bench with a loud whump. His backpack slid halfway across the pavement. His iced coffee, somehow still in his side pocket from earlier, ejected itself like a pilot abandoning a doomed aircraft and exploded dramatically on the sidewalk. The entire bus stop froze. Even Barbara, pausing at the curb, blinked at the spectacle. Jenny hurried over. Ethan, are you alive? Ethan groaned into the pavement. Define alive. Dr. Hartley knelt down. Try moving your shoulders, gently. Very gently. Little Gracie poked him. Mister, your face looks like my dad when he tries to fix the Wi-Fi. Marcus crossed his arms. I've seen worse landings in basic training. Ethan sat up slowly, dazed but conscious. I made it, right? Everyone nodded. Barbara even gave a rare approving head tilt. But just as Ethan tried to stand, he realized something incredible. He was smiling. A huge, stupid, unstoppable grin. Because somehow, despite the sprinkler explosion, the mud pits, the cat ambush, the baseball field obstacle course, the uphill battle, he had done it. He had actually beaten the bus. Jenny offered him a hand. That was the most dramatic commute I've ever witnessed. Dr. Hartley adjusted Ethan's posture without asking. Little Gracie handed him the remaining half of her popsicle like a medal of honor. Marcus said, Son, if you can survive that, you can survive Monday. Barbara opened the bus doors with a hiss. Get in, champ. You earned it. Ethan stepped on board, soggy, muddy, scraped, exhausted, and happier than he'd been in months. As the bus rumbled away from the curb, Ethan sank into a seat and took a deep breath of redemption and bus air freshener. The shortcut had been ridiculous, but the victory felt real. The narrator that's me would like to note that Ethan, despite all logic, somehow still had a twig sticking out of his hair, and thus began a very unexpected day. When the Route 17 bus pulled away from Maple Glen's Oakwood Lane stop, everyone on board seemed to be buzzing with the aftershocks of Ethan's dramatic arrival. The late summer sunlight slanted through the bus windows in golden stripes, illuminating dust specks that floated in the air like lazy fireflies. The bus interior smelled faintly of lemon disinfectant, vinyl seats, and someone's breakfast sandwich wrapped in too crinkly foil. Ethan sat half-slouched in a seat near the middle, hair still damp from the sprinkler's betrayal, shirt streaked with dried mud, and one shoelace rebelliously half-tied. The twig, yes, it was still there, stuck out from behind his right ear like nature's post-it note. He leaned his head back and breathed out slowly, the way people do when they're not sure whether to laugh or cry, but leaning dangerously toward laughing. Across the aisle, Jenny Marshall watched him with amused sympathy over her iced coffee. I still can't believe you made it. Ethan chuckled. Me either. Pretty sure I lost a year of my life expectancy on that hill. Dr. Hartley, sitting one seat up, twisted around. Don't forget to ice your knee later. And your shoulder. And probably your everything. Ethan nodded solemnly. Duly noted. Jenny took a sip, then grinned. Honestly, this is the most exciting thing that's happened on a Monday morning in Maple Glen in years. Behind them, little Gracie slurped what remained of her aggressively blue popsicle, now approximately the color of window cleaner. She pointed at Ethan. You run weird. Ethan blinked. I run how? Gracie shrugged. Like a flamingo who forgot how knees work. The entire bus laughed. Even Barbara Collins cracked a smile in the rearview mirror. Ethan sighed dramatically. I risk my life for public transportation and this is what I get. But the laugh stuck around this time. Warm, easy, earned. As the bus rolled down Elmhurst Drive, the town scenery passed by like a moving collage of suburban Americana. The local diner where senior citizens gathered for 6 a.m. pancakes, the strip mall with the perpetually empty nail salon, the post office with a line even when it wasn't open yet, and the community center that held Zumba classes with a questionable success rate. For Ethan, though, the real scenery was internal. Something about the chaos of his morning, ridiculous as it was, felt strangely inspiring. Like a cosmic slapstick lesson about perseverance. He smiled softly. Maybe the universe woke me up in its own weird way today. Jenny leaned over with a smirk. By beating you senseless with nature and bad timing. Exactly. The bus approached the main commercial district of Maple Glen. Clusters of local shops, early commuters, a row of American flags flapping on lampposts, and a bright blue sky wide enough to suggest that, maybe, the day hadn't decided to ruin him entirely. At the next stop, the doors opened with a hiss and 2 more commuters climbed aboard. Harold Benton, a retired engineer who wore suspenders every day of his life, and Lauren Kim, high school junior with earbuds in, sipping a neon purple energy drink that probably wasn't FDA approved. Harold shuffled past Ethan. Morning, young man. You look like you fought a blackberry bush and lost. Ethan nodded gravely. Multiple bushes, actually. Lauren didn't even look up from her phone. Respect. With everyone settled, the bus groaned forward once more. Ethan looked out the window, soaking in the familiar town he'd lived in since middle school. Every block felt like a small memory. Biking with friends, embarrassing school plays, the summer festival where he accidentally spilled lemonade on the mayor's shoes. Maple Glen wasn't flashy or fancy, but it was warm, friendly, and full of chaotic charm. And as much as Ethan preferred to avoid public humiliation, today's misadventure had knocked something loose inside him. A thought, a realization. He had actually accomplished something hard, something uncomfortable, something ridiculous. But he didn't quit. He had actually accomplished something hard, something uncomfortable, something ridiculous. But he didn't quit. That counted for something, right? He tugged the twig from behind his ear and held it up, inspecting it like a trophy. Jenny snorted. Keeping that for your scrapbook? Oh, absolutely, Ethan said. This is the symbol of my warrior journey. Little Gracie gasped. You're a warrior, like in video games? Exactly like that, Ethan said, voice serious. Except my enemy was gravity. Barbara's voice came through the bus speakers. Next stop, Maple Glen Business District. Ethan sat up straighter. This was his stop. Jenny's, too. She tightened her ponytail and checked her bag. Ready? Ethan exhaled. As I'll ever be. The bus pulled to a smooth halt. The doors opened. Ethan stood, briefly wobbling, as his damp shoe slipped slightly on the floor. Dr. Hartley called out, ice your shoulder. I will. Jenny waved at Gracie. See you tomorrow. Gracie called out, run better next time, Flamingo. Ethan pointed dramatically. I'll work on my form. He and Jenny stepped off the bus into the bright, warm morning, and the bus rumbled away like a great departing beast of suburban public transit. The sidewalk was bustling. Business people with coffee cups, a dog walker wrangling 4 excited beagles, a cyclist nearly colliding with a newspaper stand, and a couple arguing softly about whether almond milk was real milk. Jenny and Ethan walked side by side toward the Maple Glen office plaza, a 3-story building with a slightly fading brick facade and window blinds that never all pointed in the same direction. Ethan adjusted his damp backpack. You think people will notice the mud? Jenny gave his shirt a once-over. It looks like camouflage designed by someone who's very confused. So, yes. Oh, definitely. They crossed the plaza fountain, currently decorated with rubber ducks from last weekend's charity race, and entered the building. Cool air conditioning washed over them. The elevator doors opened. Ethan and Jenny stepped inside. She pressed her floor. By the way, I know you always think you're a disaster in motion. Ethan snorted. No argument there. But today you actually inspired everyone on that bus. Ethan blinked. What? Oh come on. You ran through half the town. You didn't give up. You didn't quit. You looked like you wrestled a sprinkler, a tree, and a cat. But you made it. Ethan laughed softly. I feel like I should get a medal. You should. And not just the popsicle kind. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Before stepping out, Jenny added, seriously, though, give yourself some credit. Not everyone pushes through when everything goes wrong. He swallowed, touched unexpectedly. Thanks, really. She gave him a nod and disappeared into the hallway. Ethan stood there, processing her words. Maybe he did deserve a little credit. Maybe the shortcut wasn't just a frantic commute. It was a wild reminder that he could overcome things, even when they made absolutely zero sense. As he walked toward his office, several coworkers glanced at him. Jared, the IT guy, raised a thumbs up. Sophie, from accounting, whispered, is he okay? Marvin, who always microwaved fish for lunch, said, rough morning. Ethan replied, intense morning. He settled at his desk, turned on his computer, winced as his knee protested sitting. Then his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hey Flamingo Warrior. You dropped this outside the bus stop. Attached, a picture of his chilly lunch bag sitting on the grass. He gasped. No, no. He had left his lunch at the bus stop. Again. He buried his face in his hands. Why is my life like this? Then came a knock on the office door. He looked up. Standing there, holding his lunch bag, was Nora Pierce. She grinned. You left this behind. Again. I was driving past and figured you'd want it. Ethan practically glowed. Nora, you're a lifesaver. She set the bag down. Saw your sprint earlier. Impressive. Chaotic, but impressive. I'm hearing that a lot today. She laughed. Also, the whole neighborhood group chat is talking about it. Ethan froze. The what? Yep. Someone recorded you jumping over the baseball field bench. It has 47 likes. He covered his eyes. Tell me they didn't catch the sprinkler part. They did. He let out a long groan, then started laughing again. Nora gave his shoulder a pat. Honestly, people are cheering for you. Guess we all needed something funny and motivational on a Monday. When she left, Ethan stared at his lunch bag. He smiled. Something warm settled in his chest. The shortcut hadn't ruined him. It had connected him to people, made him laugh, and somehow, made his whole messy morning meaningful. He pulled out his chili, reheated it, and ate at his desk, thinking about how ridiculous and surprisingly beautiful life in Maple Glen could be. By lunchtime, 3 coworkers had stopped by to congratulate him. By mid-afternoon, his sprint had become town folklore. By evening, he was pretty sure he had achieved local legend status, at least in the category of most dramatic commute. When the workday ended, Ethan stepped outside, breathing in the warm early evening air. The sun dipped low, turning everything gold. He thought about the shortcut, about the chaos, about the unexpected support and laughter and encouragement. He thought about what Jenny said, not everyone pushes through when everything goes wrong. He smiled. Maybe today was about more than catching the bus. Maybe it was about realizing that even when life drenches you, trips you, mud slaps you, and whacks you with a tree branch, you can still get where you're going, and laugh while doing it. As he walked home past familiar sidewalks and waving neighbors, Ethan felt lighter, more confident, more capable. Because if he could survive that shortcut, he could survive anything.
Like and subscribe if you want to be happy and motivate.